tons of people are moving to Northwest Arkansas. It's projected to almost double in size by 2050.
There's already about 600,000 people in the area now, and so we're expecting another 400,000 in the next 25 years.
400,000, that's a ton of people. So what actually needs to change for the area to manage that level of massive growth? We're talking about that today. Northwest Arkansas is the 18th fastest growing metro in the entire United States, with roughly 16,000 people moving here every single year. So that's 16,000 people that need jobs, schools, recreation, roads, sewage, and of course, houses. There's a lot of infrastructure that has to be built. So we're gonna talk about what the area's plans are to actually make this possible.
With that many people coming to the area, there is a lot of opportunity, especially for the folks who already have something here that get to ride that wave of appreciation. I mean, shoot, let's just look at home prices from even 2019 till post-COVID. If you bought anywhere before then, you would have been set. But that was also just the COVID market. This is a bigger picture of a city moving into Northwest Arkansas every single year, year over year over year. So let's see what challenges might also come with that.
Starting off is roads. If you've ever hit any of the roads during rush hour around here, it can be an absolute nightmare, especially like 14th Street going out to Centerton. It's literally red light after red light after red light. And so what are the plans in the area to actually handle traffic when you're talking about doubling in size in such a short period of time?
You know, we do have a few proposed ideas, whether it be interstate connections, widening of current roads, and roundabouts on roundabouts on roundabouts.
I hate roundabouts, but the good news is they're actually building some pretty impressive bypasses. So they just completed one in Bella Vista that really connected the northern part of Bentonville and kind of some of those northern cities like Gravette, and made some of these inaccessible areas quickly connected to the highway. So that's one that they've already completed, and they've got some projects in the works as well.
And just to kind of show how this area has changed, where that interstate connection is now in Bella Vista used to be a roundabout, and it was there for all of maybe a year until they tore it out and put in that interstate connection because they didn't know and didn't expect how fast this area was growing. And so we've almost had a gear shift with all the communities around here. And that roundabout that existed for less than a year is the perfect example of how that's changing.
I think they should tear out all of the roundabouts.
Just interstates everywhere.
Another huge project that they're working on is actually a connection out towards Centerton area. This is on the west side of Bentonville, and praise the Lord that they're actually putting this in and they're actually rolling the ball on this. But they're gonna be able to basically connect out toward the airport and connect it into Springdale and some of those areas. So essentially, they're trying to put a big circle from Bentonville to Springdale all along 49 so that the entire area is gonna be accessible.
Yeah, actually right about now you should see a little picture of the proposed ideas. I would love the purple track because I think it's gonna actually make things the most convenient, but it's the most expensive. We'll have to see how things stack out with that, but regardless, either way, to have another main artery from north to south, as most of Northwest Arkansas is laid out along that line, would be very beneficial to just get cars in different areas to allow for those transit times to be really what you expect.
And well, the biggest thing that they're also doing is they're making it where developers are able to build in some of these less accessible areas. Because it used to be that you had all these little windy roads going out there and nobody wanted to make that commute every single day because it would get so backed up. But with now there being a bypass and some 4-lane highways, it actually makes it make sense for these housing developers to prioritize those areas. So some of these projects are slated to start in 2026, and others of them are actually being rolled out now. There's actually, unfortunately, a lot of eminent domain that's taking place too. I've worked with some buyers who are being displaced by it, which is sad to see, but it also is a testament that city officials are taking it seriously, and they recognize that for the entire community to succeed in the coming years, they're gonna have to push some of these things forward.
So eminent domain can be a really scary thing, especially to lose something that you thought was once yours. So if you're coming into the area and you're wanting to be focused on making sure that isn't you,
or maybe you already own a house and you're worried that you might be lined up in a situation like that,
we definitely can help you look over where your home is at, where the property is at that you might even be interested in, to let you know, no, it doesn't look like things are expanding that way, or yeah, there is a fair amount of caution you should have. So one of the next big things to do is get the sewer system set up so that once you get the homes out towards the new areas, you have a system that's ready for them.
Yeah, and they've already started doing a lot of this. So Bella Vista is kind of notorious where almost everyone out there is not on sewer. They're mainly on septic systems. What that means is a builder, if they're wanting to develop, they have to literally install a septic on every single lot. So they now have what's called the sewer connect list, where they're slowly rolling homes over, getting them onto the main infrastructure.
Now, something to keep in mind is like for the city of Bella Vista, it's around a $10,000 fee to connect to the sewer at closing. But until you close or transfer ownership of the house, you're not required to do that. This was actually already done once before for one of our cities around here, and that's if you look at the town like Cave Springs. Most of all the homes that are out there is on what's called a step septic system, and at one point there was a septic tank in the backyard, but as the sewer infrastructure was built out, those tanks were connected directly to the sewer lines, and so now they do have the tank in the yard, but no lateral lines to get in the way of your projects.
So we know that there's gonna be a sewer deficit, and we're currently in the sewer deficit, trying to get pipes in the ground, but I also think that there's gonna have to be some citywide changes in how we think about these developments in order to streamline that process and actually make sure that as a builder's coming in, they're not having to go through so much red tape that it gets too expensive and too timely to actually build these houses.
Jeremy, that's a great point because there are so many towns that are in this area that have their own unique zoning for each district. And on top of that, they have what's called a future planned use map for each of these towns. And so that shows what an area might potentially be able to get zoned into. And the reason I bring this all up is because each one of those steps causes additional time before you can actually get something built.
And that hops into our next point, which is actually zoning. They're actually making massive overhauls in how they're allowing different cities to develop. So traditionally, a lot of these homes were, or a lot of these cities were only allowing single family homes, whereas now they're changing that to allow multifamily and a little bit more variance in the kind of housing that they're putting in. And this is mainly in an effort to allow houses to still stay affordable and to handle such a massive population growth.
Yeah, and a great way that we've seen this play out is almost the commercialization to some extent of a lot of these properties, whether it be a condo-like setup in a metropolitan downtown area to allow for commercial buildings on the base floor and rentals on the upper levels, or something as a condo townhome type development to actually allow people to purchase these homes in a good area at the price point that's gonna make sense.
Yeah, we actually walked a condo development that was really interesting because they were only allowing these condos to sell and you weren't allowed to rent it out. And most of these were under 200K, which around here is very affordable. And so the purpose of that is to make sure that we're not just turning into a rental society, but that first-time home buyers can actually have a chance to buy something and get that chunk of equity. So I like to see those kind of movements. I appreciate that some builders are taking that into account, and that's a really cool project to see materialize.
It's also nice because that's not the only type of community that you'll have come up. There's another development that's proposed out in Bella Vista called the Owl Commons. That's supposed to be a townhome-like structure, but the reason it's making waves is it's one of the first approved communities that does not require a carport or a garage for every single individual unit, which is a big change for what Bella Vista was. So we're really seeing the changes of this commercialization hitting, and it's allowing people to actually move into the area before it's completely unattainable.
One of the major appeals to Northwest Arkansas has been the affordability compared to other places in the United States. But the question is, as you go from 600,000 people to 1 million people, how do you keep the affordability, especially when it comes to cost of living and to housing affordability? How do you maintain that? So we've talked about the roads, the sewer infrastructure, but what is the area actually gonna look like 25 years from now when all these people have moved in?
So clearly we can see that there is affordability still in Northwest Arkansas. And I believe affordability will continue to stay in Northwest Arkansas. It just will move as the area grows.
And now it's getting pushed out, especially with those highway infrastructures that we're seeing, where some of these outskirt areas are really just gonna become the new hot spots as it gets a little bit further from the city centers. So the good news is, if you're a homeowner in this area, in the next 25 years, you're likely gonna see some crazy appreciation. I've actually talked with investors from other states that are leaving their local markets to put their money into Northwest Arkansas because it has such a good trajectory. If you wanna know a little bit more about some of of the obstacles that they're overcoming, some of the things that the city councils are doing. We're actually sitting down with an interview with the representative in charge of development in downtown Fayetteville. We're gonna go in detail on what the cities are actually thinking about some of this growth. So if you wanna see that video, click right here, and we'll see you next time.